Welcome back to Mangastorian's Berserk series. Today we're going to be covering chapter 337, 338, and 339, and when we last left off, Rickert had found his way to Griffith's courtyard to see what he had made, what he had created. As the ceremony finished, Locust brought Rickert to the courtyard where Griffith was having lunch with Charlotte. Before Rickert walks over though, Griffith stands up from his table and he says that he must excuse himself for a moment. As he walks over, the images of Falconia and his prosperity flash before Rickert's eyes. And he asks himself, what is he supposed to ask him? All of these wonderful things that Griffith has done, his godlike exploits, even his fiendish one. Once Griffith stops before Rickert, he asks if he still dreams the same dream. Has he found the answer to that question on the Hill of Swords? Does he still want to help him achieve his dream of having his own kingdom? And just then the sound of Rickert slapping Griffith rings out in the quiet courtyard. Everyone gasps and Locust shouts, "How dare you!" But before anyone can move, Griffith raises his hand to stomp them. Rickert says that he was ashamed of himself when he couldn't go with everyone to Wyndham to rescue him. He felt as though he owed him a debt for not getting to share the fate of the others, for not being able to get mad like Guts, for only being able to stand there and watch as Guts continued on. But the one who placed all of those swords on the hill to mark their graves, it was him. As Rickert trails off, he reaches into his satchel and pulls out a small pin with the current emblem of the Band of the Hawk, and says that the shape of the wings are slightly different. Griffith stares at it, telling him that it is, and Rickert then says that his name is Rickert, a member of the Band of the Hawk led by Griffith the White Hawk. His leader isn't the Hawk of Light. Goodbye. Soon after, Rickert leaves, and Griffith watches him make his way down the long, windy bridge, but as he stares, Charlotte and the others ask if he'll be alright. Griffith smiles at them and says that it would seem that he's been rejected. However, Locust himself is not taking the situation too lightly as he grips onto the stone rail, crushing it. Even more, there's another set of eyes watching the events unfold. Salat. But after Rickert returns, he continues to help the villagers, fixing and repairing the things that they haven't gotten a chance to look at yet. And watching him the whole time is Luca and her troop. After making a fire hose out of a barrel, Luca tells him that he's a very skilled craftsman. He shouldn't have any issue getting a job in a city like this. Pepe then says that she also heard that he used to be in the Band of the Hawk. That means he's an old friend of Griffith's, right? He's set for work and he's got connections. How about they? But before Pepe and Fouquet can make a move, Erica stands in front of them showing her teeth. Rickert sighs and tells them, unfortunately, he won't be able to stay here in the city. Luca then asks, why is that? And after explaining what happened in the courtyard, all of the girls then shout, why would you do that? Rickert tries to come up with some words to say, and Luca asks if it's something that he can't really talk about. Surely, living together for so long, there was a slap or a punch here and there. Rickert looks down and says that he did what he did because they were comrades once. But what he doesn't say is that this city is built on the top of the death of his friends. He wouldn't be able to live comfortably here no matter how much of a utopia it has become. Luca says that she can understand that there's an issue between two men, but what does that mean he plans on doing with Erica? Will he take her back into the wilds with all of those monsters? Erica then says that they can bet that she'll be going with Rickert. They're family after all. She tells the two of them that she understands that they may have things that they have lost, but whether they stay or go, regret and reluctance are always going to be following them around. Just make sure to live and not make excuses for himself down the road. As the girls all cheer Luca on her standing speech, Lucy then calls out to everyone that if they're done gossiping, they're still a little short-handed here. Lucy then says that it looks like they need to go, and Erica runs up following, stating that she'll help out too. But with a little time to himself, Rickert walks around the city and its forges, looking at a large supply of weapons and how everyone is so happy to make them. The people work with such energy and a sense of purpose and duty. This is Falconia, Griffith's capital. Rickert begins to think of how things used to be and the words that Luca told him, and he looks out, stating that he does have a family after all. But then a voice tells him that that's rather touching, and he looks back at a headless statue as the head slowly starts to form and the Rakshas face appears. Rakshas then says that parting with the family is a very sad thing. There's no need to worry. Even if he's gone, his family will live on in this city under the Hawk's protection. Rakshas then sinks down into the shadows and creeps behind Rickert, holding out a needle, telling him that he can die free of concern, and just then two bladed rings fly through the air at the Rakshas head, forcing him to retreat. As he lands, a giant stone pillar drops on top of him, thrown by one of Salat's Tapasa. Salat then asks if this was an order from the Hawk himself or that Night Locust. Either way, it's clear that this young man knows some secrets about the Hawk. As Salat stands on the ledge, he directs his attention to Rickert and tells him that in exchange for saving his life, there is something that he wishes to ask. But before he can ask anything, Salat notices something and throws his rings at a crack in the stone pillar, and Rakshas's eyes begin to glow. He leans back, spinning the rings, stating that the young master's skills have improved, and then throws them back, aiming them at Rickert. But before the rings can cut, the Tapasa jump in in the way, catching the rings between the palm of their hands. Rakshas then says that the Tapasa can move very well considering their size, and the two Tapasas stomp down on the broken pillar, and through its shadows, Rakshas reaches up, grabbing them by the leg and throwing them to the side. He then picks them back up with Salat lunging at Rakshas, throwing his guitar, stabbing right into the center of Rakshas's mask. Salat then pulls back on the handle, and as he does, two more blades spring out from either side, splitting the mask in half. Salat then holds his arm out, wondering if it was a killing blow, and soon he begins to feel something wrapping around his body, and he quickly jumps back. Rakshas slinks up from the bottom part of his body, stating that just because that's where his mask was, doesn't necessarily mean that that's where his head is. Rakshas then picks up the two halves of his mask, stating that he really liked this one though. How sad. The mood's ruined now and he's going to go, but once he gets a new mask, he'll come back. He begins to slowly fade away, and Salat pulls down his mask, stating, alright, back to the question. Rickard stares at Salat's face and remembers that this was the Kushan guy that Guts fought against so long ago. Rickard then tells him, look, if you want to talk about Griffith, that's fine, but we don't have much time. The thing said it would be back, right? So instead of getting the short version, I have a proposition for you. A short while later, Rickard returns to the lodging and Erica asks how was the blacksmith today. She looks behind him and sees Salat and the Tapasa in robes and screams, with Erica shouting, Rickard, there are orcs following you, and Rickard telling her, no, they're humans now. Luca runs out after hearing Erica scream as she sees the Tapasa, grabbing Erica and shouting that the orcs have slipped into town. And after finally calming her down, Luca walks the group behind the building, stating that they're going to need to keep them away from everyone. They'll scare anyone who sees them. One of the Tapasa responds, telling her that that's rude, and Rickard tells them that they do kind of stick out. Salat then says that if that's the case, the Tapasa will have to wait inside of the stable while they discuss these matters. But as the Tapasa mutter and go inside the barn, Diaba looks at them and says that it's them. Luca then asks who are these guys, and Rickard tells her that they are his, bodyguards. He hired mercenaries because he's leaving Falconia tonight. After telling the girls what happened, everyone tells him that Griffith must have been upset with what he did earlier. And Rickard says maybe, but even for Griffith, for him to do something like this, even the old Griffith was a cool-headed perfectionist. He did have a shady side that he never showed, but he wouldn't go that far. Salat then says that at any rate, the Rakshas will be sure to come back. There's one place that they could go though, that's the hidden Bakiraka village. It was built on an impenetrable land, and because of the warriors there, even the spirit creatures find it difficult to invade. While the Mad Emperor is falling, he was pondering whether to work for the Hawk like the other Kushan, but he couldn't bring himself to work for another inhuman again. Luca then says that settles it, they're going to get ready to leave, but before that, if he chooses to leave Erica here, she'll be looked after. Rickard pauses for a moment and then says that he's going to take Erica with him. He's not entirely sure if it's the right thing to do, but they are family. Luca pats Rickard on the shoulder, telling him alright then, just make sure that their new Kushan friend here keeps them well protected. Rickard quietly smiles to himself and says, you know, long ago I had a friend who left on a journey for the same reason that I am now. It's a dangerous journey with someone very dear to me. However, unlike him, that man is an extremely capable swordsman who is nearly unkillable. And knowing him, he's still out there somewhere, I'm sure of it. But as Rickard says that, the Rakshas sits atop of a statue, watching and waiting. And that concludes where we are with Berserk. We're trying to get back on schedule, guys. We had a few things happening. I hope you guys are enjoying. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can get more Berserk, Attack on Titan, One Punch Man, all the stuff that we do here. And I will see you next time right here at Manga Storian.